When you spend time doing something like walking through the forest, you'll notice your mind wandering from thought to thought. Sometimes your mind will make plans for the future. On other occasions, it reenacts events from the past. It keeps thoughts of impending deadlines for things like bills, appointments, and job pressures at the forefront. For many of us, this wandering mind is the reason we have negative self-talk, and often stress. It can hamper your ability to relax and unwind. The part of the brain responsible for this kind of thinking is called the default mode network, and is a system in the brain that links the areas that generate thoughts of the past and future, planning, as well as perception of others and their perception of you. It is important to understand this term to appreciate the effect it has on someone who spends time observing. What I mean by observing is the act of giving something your complete attention. There are countless pursuits that lead to this, most of which are outdoor activities, but not all. For me, being an observer means getting out in nature and taking a closer look at the world around me, often through a camera lens. Being an observer also encompasses mycology, berry picking, bird watching, hunting, and more. These are activities that require deep focus on a subconscious level. In other fields such as combat sports, skateboarding, surfing, etc., the term flow state has been used to describe this level of deep focus. Our brains, while extremely powerful, are not great at multitasking. When you achieve a flow state, the default mode network is silenced. Gone are the thoughts of past and future. A quote of dubious origin has gained popularity recently with the resurgence of research on mental illness, which reads, "If you are depressed, you're living in the past. If you're anxious, you're living in the future. If you are at peace, you're living in the present." It is attributed to Lao Tzu. Regardless of the quote's origin, if there is any kernel of truth to the statement, flow state is something to be seriously considered. When you are in the forest, focused on filming a caterpillar as it moves along the leaf litter, trying to capture in macro its miniature tiny details, your inner voice vanishes. This is a woodlouse. You're probably quite familiar with them. They go by many names. In fact, there are over 3,000 species of these. They're actually a crustacean, and they're an isopod. Around the world, there are varieties that live in water, in the earth, in trees. And like earthworms, they're very important to the ecosystem. There are other ways to quiet the default mode network, of course. This is one of the primary goals of meditation. as the only way to truly quiet the mind is to no longer have that inner voice harping on about what you're going to have to cook for supper later, or worrying about that dentist appointment coming up next week. Yoga is also said to induce a focused state that quiets the DMN. In Michael Pollan's new book, How to Change Your Mind, scientific evidence has demonstrated that psychedelics also temporarily suppress your DMN, allowing for prolonged states of reflection. Consider the state of mind required to film this type of scene. This is a common grasshopper, as seen through a macro lens. Observation is an easy, everyday method for reaching hyperfocus or flow state. Any activity that requires concentration and induces fascination can do this. For me, observing the outside world and the environment around me is the most fundamentally relaxing experience. Sure, when I have to pack it in and head home, the DMN returns to normal and the worries return, but for a while, the inner dialogue was replaced with the sounds of nature all around me. These are bunch berries. One of the most fascinating features of this berry that lives in the forest floor is that before the berries are formed, when they eject their pollen, they actually have one of the fastest actions in the plant kingdom, requiring a camera that can film over 10,000 frames per second to see the pollen ejected. These are the berries of the Canada Mayflower. A lot of people around here call Mayflowers the fragrant flowers that you see in early May, but in fact the Canada Mayflower is actually a different plant altogether. When crushed, these inedible berries exude an odor of chocolate. Next, we'll take a look at mycology, another activity that leads to states of flow, and one with delicious reward. Thanks for watching.